We threw a small birthday party for my 7-year-old daughter. She was dressed as her favorite princess. The next morning, our neighbor called animal control on us, saying our yard animals had attacked her dog. We don't own any animals. When the officer arrived, he showed me a photo of our daughter in costume, covered in mud. Someone had edited it to make it look like she was mauling a puppy. I looked at the metadata. The photo had been taken from inside my daughter's room. And the timestamp? It was while she was still asleep. We live on a quiet street in a small neighborhood on the edge of Peoria, Illinois. One of those places where the mail comes late, everyone waves even if they don't know you, and lawnmower sounds never stop in summer. We moved here because it seemed safe. Normal. A good place to raise our daughter, Maddie. She just turned 7. For her birthday, she asked for a princess party. She picked out a bright pink dress with glittery sleeves and a fake pearl necklace. She called herself Princess Rosabelle and insisted on wearing the tiara even while eating her cake. We kept it simple, homemade decorations, a bounce house we rented for a few hours, and about 6 kids from her class. They laughed, they ran around, a few minor tantrums, but nothing major. It was loud but good. Maddie was happy. That was all we cared about. She fell asleep that night still wearing her costume. We didn't even bother washing her face. She was too tired to stay awake another second. I remember tucking her in, brushing glitter off her forehead, and thinking how lucky we were to have her. Next morning, around 8 a.m., someone knocked on our front door. I opened it in my sweatpants. A tall, bald guy in a city truck stood there with a clipboard. "Morning. Are you the homeowner?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "What's this about?" "I'm with animal control. We got a complaint from a neighbor about a possible animal attack in your backyard. She says your animals mauled her dog." I frowned. "We don't have animals. We've never had pets." He pulled out his phone and opened a picture. "This is what she sent us," he said. I stared at the screen. It was a photo of my daughter. In her birthday dress. But she looked wrong. Mud all over her, face twisted in some weird expression, arms reaching forward like claws. There was a small dog. White, fluffy, lying still on the grass in the corner. "Wait, what?" I asked. "This is supposed to be from last night?" "This morning," he said. "She sent it a couple hours ago. Says this happened around dawn." My stomach turned. That's not possible. Maddie was asleep all night. We were home the whole time. He didn't look convinced. "Well, this is what we have. We have to investigate any report like this, especially when a child's involved. Can you send me that picture?" I asked. "I work in IT. I want to check something." He hesitated. I explained I wasn't trying to cover anything up, I just knew when something looked off in a photo. He finally emailed it to me, gave me a warning about keeping pets secured, again, we don't own any, and left. The moment the email came in, I downloaded the image and checked the metadata. Taken at 2:37 a.m. Inside Maddie's bedroom. That photo had been taken from inside the room where my daughter slept. She hadn't even stirred during the night. There were no open windows. Nothing was moved. Her costume was still on her. Same dress, same little crown. But that photo wasn't just fake, it was creepy. Someone had to be inside our house, or at least looking through the window, to get that angle. And from her bedroom, you can see only one house clearly. Carla's. Our neighbor Carla is strange. Mid-50s, single, no job. Always watching people. She lives alone with her little white dog, Sprinkles. She once told my wife we should keep it down because our kids' toys were too colorful. That was the first time we thought something was off with her. Last month, she came to our door and said she didn't like the sound of Maddie playing outside. "Too shrill," she said. "Kids shouldn't scream unless they're hurt." We brushed it off as weird. But now? That photo. The angle. The timing. She was trying to frame my daughter. But why? That's what I was going to find out. Because this crossed a line. That same day, I went into Maddie's room and stood by the window. From there, I could see straight into Carla's second-story window. Her blinds were partly open, just like they always were. Like she wanted to watch but didn't want to be seen. I pulled out my phone and took a picture from that exact spot. I compared it to the fake one she sent. Same angle. Same line of sight. But the fake one had been taken from just a few feet further inside. That's when I noticed something on Maddie's windowsill, mud. Just a few smears. I hadn't seen it before. I bent down and looked closer. There were faint streaks on the carpet too. Like someone had stepped in with dirty shoes and stood there just long enough to take a picture. Whoever did it wasn't just watching. They had been inside. I called the police. They sent a patrol officer within the hour. I told him everything. The photo. The timestamp. The mud. The angle. I even showed him the metadata on my laptop. He looked uncomfortable. "I'll write a report," he said. "But unless you can prove someone broke in, there's not much we can do. There's no sign of forced entry. You don't think someone sneaking into a child's room at night and faking a photo is a problem?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just handed me a card and told me to call if anything else happened. That night, I barely slept. I kept checking on Maddie every hour. Around 3 a.m. I saw a light go on in Carla's window. She walked past in a white robe, holding something, maybe a phone. She stood there a minute, then pulled the blinds fully shut. The next morning, I checked our outdoor camera. It's one of those basic motion sensor models I installed a few months ago to watch the driveway. Around 2:30 a.m. the night before, it caught a figure crossing from Carla's yard into ours. Shorter, hunched over, carrying something under their arm. I paused the clip. There was no doubt. It was Carla. Wearing the same robe. She walked up to our side fence. Reached over. Something small hit the ground, mud? I don't know. But then she ducked and walked right toward the back of the house. Toward Maddie's window. I stared at the screen, sick to my stomach. She came into our yard. At night. Got close enough to touch the house. Maybe even got inside. I went to the police station this time. Brought the footage. The photo. Everything. A different officer took my statement. She seemed more serious. "This is messed up," she said. "Let me talk to our detective. Someone needs to look into this." That night, my wife and I switched shifts sleeping. One of us stayed awake at all times. We kept a baseball bat by the bed. We didn't tell Maddie anything. Just said there was a raccoon outside, so we were being extra careful. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Then, on the fourth night, I found something in our mailbox. No return address. No stamp. Just an envelope. Inside was another photo. Maddie again. This time, the background was different. It looked like our backyard, but the colors were off, almost like someone had messed with the contrast. She looked scared in this one. Her hands were raised like she was shielding her face. It was fake again. But this time, the edits were worse, blurry, jagged lines around her head, parts of her body looking too big. Almost like whoever made it was rushing. On the back, in red ink, someone had written, "Control your monster." My wife saw it and started crying. I called the detective the officer had mentioned. Left a voicemail. I didn't wait for her to call back. I was done waiting. I started digging into Carla. Public records, neighborhood forums, old news articles. It took a while, but I found something. 10 years ago, in another town in southern Illinois, there had been a complaint against a woman named Carla Myers. Noise complaints. Then a restraining order from a family with kids. Same last name. Same age. Same face in the court photo. The complaint said she had been caught taking pictures of their son through the fence. She said it was for evidence. They said it was harassment. The family moved. Carla did too. Now she was here. I printed everything. Took it to the station again. This time, the detective was there. She took one look at the folder and said, "We need to talk to her." But Carla wasn't home when they knocked. She didn't come back that night. Or the next. On the third day, a letter showed up taped to our front door. It said, "You people don't belong here. Keep your child away from me." This was war now. I didn't let Maddie outside for the next few days. Every time I looked across the yard at Carla's house, I felt my hands clench. Her blinds stayed closed. Her car didn't move. No one answered when police went by again. She'd gone quiet, but not gone. On the fifth night after the last letter, something changed. Around 1 a.m., our security camera pinged me. I checked my phone. There she was. Carla. In our yard again. But this time, she wasn't alone. There was a man with her. Tall, hoodie pulled tight around his face, holding what looked like a crowbar. Carla pointed toward Maddie's window. Then she walked off toward our side gate, like she was trying to keep watch. I didn't wait. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the bat, and ran downstairs. By the time I threw open the back door, the guy was already halfway across the yard, crouching low. He turned when he saw me. Took off running. I chased him as far as the fence. He leapt it like it was nothing. Disappeared into the dark. Carla was gone too. Just like that. I called 911. Police came fast this time. I showed them the footage. They said they were going to process it, look into Carla's background harder now, maybe even get a warrant. Still, no arrest. That same day, I talked to my brother. He works in cybersecurity in Chicago. I sent him everything. The photos. The videos. The metadata. He dug into the files more deeply. That's when he found it. One of the images Carla had sent, one of the more recent ones, still had a file path buried in the data. Something like, c:\users/m/carla_documents/Rosabelle@final.psd. Photoshop file. Her name. On her own computer. That was the smoking gun. We handed it straight to the detective. And 2 days later, they got a search warrant. They found her laptop. Dozens of photo edits. Videos too. Sound recordings from outside our house. Notes she kept about Maddie's daily behavior. Some of the notes were handwritten, with dates, times, even little sketches. Like she was documenting her every move. They found a hidden camera in her attic window pointed straight at our yard. But the worst part? They found a plan. She had printed out an anonymous report form for Child Protective Services. In it, she'd written that Maddie was violent. Unstable. That we weren't fit parents. She had been building a case to try and get Maddie taken away. All of it fake. Carla was arrested that night. Stalking. Harassment. Possession of child surveillance material. Conspiracy. But the guy she was with? The one who ran? Still missing. And he had left something behind, half a print in the mud by the window. Cops were running it, but nothing yet. And the edits on Carla's laptop? They weren't all made by her. Someone else had signed into her Photoshop account. Someone with the username jwhite3. I asked the detective if it meant anything. She asked me if I knew a Jason White. That name hit me hard. I did. But I hadn't seen him in 10 years. He used to date my sister. And he hated my family. I hadn't thought about Jason White in a long time. He dated my sister back when we lived in Springfield. He was always trouble. Always angry. He drank too much, yelled too much. One night, he showed up at my parents' house drunk and broke a lamp in the living room. My dad told him to leave. My sister broke up with him the next day. Jason blamed all of us. Especially me. I was the one who called the cops that night when he started banging on her door after the breakup. He got arrested. Small charge, nothing major. But he never forgot. And he made that clear in the only text he ever sent me after that: "One day, I'll make you regret what you did." Now, 10 years later, his name was buried in photo edits trying to frame my 7-year-old daughter. I called my sister. She hadn't heard from him in years either. Last she knew, he moved north, somewhere near Peoria. Said he was trying to restart. The detective got a warrant for Jason. Said it would take time to track him down, but now he was officially part of the investigation. She told us to be careful. Lock everything. Keep Maddie close. We tried. But 4 nights later, Maddie disappeared. It was 11:13 p.m. I'd checked on her before going to bed. She was asleep, hugging her stuffed rabbit. The window was shut. Everything seemed normal. Then around midnight, my wife woke me up. "She's gone." I jumped out of bed so fast I hit my knee on the dresser. Her bed was empty. Window cracked open. Stuffed rabbit on the floor. We called the police. They brought dogs. A drone. Flashlights lit up the neighborhood. I stood in the yard yelling her name over and over, my voice breaking every time. It was the worst night of my life. They found her 5 hours later. In Carla's attic. Wrapped in a blanket. Shivering. Crying. But alive. Jason had brought her there. They confirmed it from fingerprints and a small patch of DNA on the blanket. But he was already gone again. A neighbor's door camera caught him running down the street minutes before the cops arrived. Inside the attic, they found something else. A voice recorder. Jason had left a message. "You think you're a hero. But you're the reason this happened. You called the cops on me. You broke up my life. I just wanted to scare you. Show you what it's like to lose something." That was his idea of revenge. He had used Carla. Pushed her deeper into her obsession. Promised her proof if she helped. Turns out they met in some weird online group, people who shared evidence against bad parents. Except most of them were just bitter loners who made stuff up. Carla believed every word he said. Jason was never caught. He disappeared completely. Cops think he's somewhere out of state now. But at least the FBI got involved. He's wanted now. For kidnapping. For conspiracy. Carla pled guilty to several charges. She's doing 12 years in prison. As for us? We moved. Sold the house. Took a loss. Didn't matter. We needed to get Maddie out of there. She still has nightmares. Sometimes wakes up screaming. We got her into therapy. She's getting better. Slowly. But I live with the guilt. If I hadn't called the cops on Jason all those years ago, maybe none of this would have happened. But then I remember what he became. And I know I did the right thing back then. Still, the damage is done. He tried to destroy our family. And he almost did. But he underestimated us. We survived. And if he ever shows his face again, I'll be ready.